Good morning once again, ladies and gentlemen, and if it's not morning when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Once again, I am your host, Micah Diele, and I'm going to sound like a broken record right now if you've been listening to the show. Now, if you're new to the show, this podcast is where I highlight talented individuals who live within the Central Valley of California, as well as people in general who are passionate about what they do. And once again, you guys, I'm going to remind you about reviews and downloads. So if you have Apple Podcasts, please leave a review and comment. And if you have Spotify, please make sure you're downloading those. And even if you use a different app, do the same exact thing. And I would really appreciate it because it would help the show. Now, let's get to my guest. Now, my guest today is one of my best friends. I've known him since I was 4 years old, and we are 28, or I'm 28, he's 27. And let me just tell you, I really enjoyed this conversation. Now, we talk about a vast variety of subjects, talk about old times of me and him. We talk about a mission trip that he went on for 6 months and just the variety of life in different places around this world. And then last but not least, the last 30 minutes is all about NFTs, that's non-fungible tokens, and we go into detail and break down the hype of what's going on right now. So without further ado, please welcome Benjamin Douglas.
This is it. Real talk and whatnot.
Real talk. That's it. Real talk. Real talk. Real talk.
Alrighty, my guest today is Ben Douglas. Ben, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Ben. I grew up in Merced. I moved up to Washington in 2017. So I've been up there like 4 years now. Yeah, it's been a
Dang,
while.
dude.
Yeah.
And then you were San Jose before that?
Yeah, I went to San Jose State. Lived there for 2011.
Oh, I just thought about what I want to talk to you about. I just look randomly right now, but your mission trip or whatever. Remember when you went to all those countries?
Yeah.
What was that? Yeah, you posted pictures the other day, and I completely forgot that you did that.
Yeah.
I'll just talk into this.
It's crazy. There's we still have a group chat. We've been together. We met in 2015, and we went to
the year before preparing for it.
Yeah, we went and did. We knew each other for a long time. There was a lot of prep that went into the trip, and then we went to New York, stayed in Harlem for 3 weeks, and then we went to.
Did you guys do stuff over there first?
We lived in the Salvation Army,
Oh.
and we served in the soup kitchen, and we did it was like school during the day, and then we did like soup kitchen stuff in the morning, and then in the afternoon we do like after school programs with the kids or whatever. You just kind of like hang out, but the key or the reason we did that was just for the training, just to kind of prepare us for what we were going to do when we traveled, and then we went to. Haiti, Jamaica, and Costa Rica. We went there for 2 months each. It was about 7 weeks just because we were gone a total of 6 months.
Yeah, I remember it being like extra long.
Yeah, we left in it was like January 15th, and we got back the end of June. It was like right at the end. And then I had like a month, moved into an apartment, and went back to school. I just took a semester off school.
Dang. But you got back like literally a couple weeks before.
I got back.
Or a month
It was
before.
it was like right at the beginning of July, I think.
I know, I remember. That's when we went to the Giants game together. And we were living in your apartment.
There's no furniture. We were sitting on the ground and like.
And you're like, yeah, in Haiti they had these these hammocks.
It was all fresh. Yeah. I brought back a hammock.
Yeah,
we built like a wooden frame. We had a dining room in my apartment. We never had a
college
table.
apartments are just like the funniest things, but like this was like a prime example. Like when you walk into a college apartment and it's like, oh, there's a hammock in here. There's not a couch, but we got a hammock.
It was always so funny because you wouldn't really see it unless. Sorry.
I don't ever have your phone call interrupt my podcast again.
Sorry. Just apologize to all your fans, everybody. Yeah, my bad.
I got 30 people listening to this.
Yeah, so we had you walked in, there's a living room and then our 2 bedrooms, and then to get to the bathroom, you had to walk through this hallway, and then there was a kitchen on the side. And we built this giant wooden frame and put the hammock in the kitchen. And so anytime anybody was over and they'd go to the bathroom, they'd always come back and be like, you have a hammock in here? And it's like, yeah, sorry, it's kind of weird, I know. It's like if you want to, take a nap, you can, whatever.
Yeah,
relax.
Oh, yeah. No.
Yeah.
I just remember, because we were all hanging out there. We're all like sitting on the ground, like in a circle. Because that was like when you first moved into that apartment.
Yeah, that was a time where, I mean, it took a couple months, but we just furnished the whole thing, I think, off of like Craigslist and Facebook, like free ads. Like we'd go randomly pick up. I would call my uncle and we go borrow his truck and go pick up a random futon or coffee table.
Facebook Marketplace now is like where it's at.
Yeah,
I love
you can find
Facebook
some
Marketplace.
you can find some great deals. I mean,
I just bought my drone on Facebook Marketplace. It was like, because it came out this year. And the original one was $600 for like the Fly More combo with batteries and everything. Yeah. And I was like, I want to buy this one used. And I was like, no one's going to sell it used. And I go, Facebook Marketplace, it was like $450. I'm like, hey, and then I was like, hey, why were you selling this? Or like in the description, the dude literally put, he was like, there's some scratches on the propellers. It hit the ceiling. And then like, that's all he said. And then when I saw him in person, I was like, so you tried to fly this inside? And he was just like, yeah, I was a little too excited. I was like, yeah, like what? I was like, you're gonna hit the ceiling if you fly a drone inside.
These are meant for, right?
Yeah.
Fly outside.
Exactly, but Facebook Marketplace is where it's at. So then you guys went to, where was the first stop?
We started in Haiti, which was really hard because Haiti's, so it's, if for a lot of people don't know that Haiti is an island and it's separated in half. You have the Dominican Republic, which a lot of people, it's just like normal,
I didn't really know exactly.
Yeah, so that's like the Dominican Republic. A lot of people, baseball players.
Haiti's just down south from us then?
It's in the Caribbean. It's in the east side.
But like
of
southeast,
the United States,
right?
It's island. And then the other island is the Dominican of, or the Republic of Haiti.
Yeah.
So we started, you fly into Port-au-Prince, and that's like the main city, and it's a crazy experience. We had local partners, and I remember my first impression of the place was we get there and we throw our bags on top of the van, and then the locals like climbed up on top of our bags, and I was like,
just as a ride?
Well, there's room in the van, and they're like, no, like, if we slow down too much, like people will jump and like grab your bags off. So we have to like sit on them. And so it's just, the first impression was like, all right, this is the real world. This isn't this. I'm not in my like safe neighborhood anymore. And I'm seen differently here. It's just not my normal place. So it was my first real kind of real.
You had
experience.
You had prepped to Mexico, prepped for this.
Yeah,
but Mexico was a little different. We went to Mexico on mission trips, like every single year for spring break. But it was a little different because we still always felt super safe in Mexico. You're still with your leader,
and then you're in big groups, right?
Yeah, huge group, and plus you're in the nicest building in all of Tijuana.
Well, and I feel that year that remember the earthquake happened?
Yeah.
That was an earth, but I mean, I feel like it's different because you have like lasting relationships that people that you've worked with for like super long time. For us, for that specific trip, we were the first group to ever go.
Oh yeah.
So we had a couple like week, like, so they planned like this was our home base, but then they planned a couple like secret like 1 week trips. And some of them were just horrible. Like we went to this place, it was called Oriani, and it was way up in the hills, literally had a generator. We had 1 hour of electricity a day. When we ate food, like kids would like stand on the fence and like watch us eat because they're hungry and they've never seen people that look like them before because they're in such we were in such a remote area. And we had people, there were 10 people on our team, and we were from everyone was from a different state, and one person was from Canada. So we had a very diverse group of people.
Dang. So you're the only one from California?
I was the only person from California that went. We had Texas, Oklahoma, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, Canada.
Looks like I'm tagging all these people on this podcast.
I want to shout out. No, I'm just kidding. And so we would we were in this place. We would some of the places we would get like locked into for security reasons.
Yeah.
So like, and they'd give us like a dungeon pot. Like if you have to go to the bathroom, like
Damn.
you can go poop in the bucket. And so it was, this is people's normal life. It has forever. It's totally, that's what this tattoo is. It's the latitude and longitude of the 3 cities that
It's a compass with latitude and longitudes.
Yeah. But it's really impacted just how I see, you go back like, to times where there weren't toilets.
Yeah.
You learn to live differently.
You're living like a completely different time in history
things.
almost.
Yeah. So I got to experience some really neat things. It totally changed kind of where I wanted to pursue things in college. And so that's when I was majored as an engineer. I was an aerospace engineer going into high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, honestly, engineering was like, I think it was like, I mean, it's still, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to go into at all, but it was like one of the ones when we were in high school, it was like, engineering is the future, do engineering.
Well, and it was like a big like startup program at Buhek.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
so
exactly.
I took a couple AutoCAD classes and I was like, engineering's sweet. Like you just like build 3D models on a computer.
Put everything in this program and there we go.
I can build a rocket ship, no big deal. And it's like, and then you go to college and it's like, oh, you got to take like calculus, this, that, and the other. And like, that's not, math isn't. I'm marrying a wonderful woman that's great at math, and
I'm exactly like you. I'm completely opposite.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kayam and everybody else for the math.
Yeah.
So then you guys were in Haiti first, and then you're in Haiti for like what, 1 month? Couple
about
months?
2 months. Yeah, it was like 7 weeks.
And then each week was kind of different, thrown in different scenarios.
Kind of different. Yeah, we only went to, I think, 3 different places. And they were like a week each. And then, so it was 3 weeks. And then we spent 4 weeks in Port-au-Prince. And I still talk to even guys from Haiti. A lot of people are connected through like Facebook and stuff.
Facebook is like, third world country somehow is Facebook.
I would love to get off social media, but it's so hard when you have connections with people, it's great to have those conversations.
Yeah, exactly. So, social media is such a tool, and then it's such a
it's a curse at the same time. Yeah, so it can be so bad. So then we went to Jamaica, and then you kind of get like a whole nother experience. Like you get people that live in a really simple life, but they're just super happy. It's they're just appreciative of what they have. They one of the quickest ways to kind of summarize the experience there was this guy was going to pick us up to go to have like a beach day, and he was a bus driver, and he was like 4.5 hours late from when the time we were going to meet.
Yeah.
And I was like, we were all kind of sitting there just like,
what the
man, like this guy is not like,
he doesn't care.
But they're like, no, he's coming. Like, don't worry about it. And so eventually showed up and he could, I don't think you can really tell. Like, obviously, we're not going to be rude about it. Like, we're guests in their home, and so.
But you're obviously just.
But he knows
waiting for 4 hours.
Yeah,
he knows he's 4.5 hours.
He's like, you Americans run on time. He's like, we don't run on time. And he's like, we'll get there when we get there. And they just had a different perspective of life. We showered in this natural like spring in the forest. We like went and got our water. We showered outside, and there was like metal. Like roof shingles, and they would put those up like 4 walls, and you had like a little stall like out every house. It was like typical to have one. You just like throw buckets of water on your head,
really?
rinse your body off, put soap on it, rinse your body off again, and you're done. You know, it's not that bad when you're in the rainforest and it's like absolutely beautiful. Like you're in like the middle of a jungle, and sorry, not rainforest necessarily, but it was such a happy.
Everyone's just happy with what they have, huh?
Yeah, my host dad, we lived in a church for a while, and then we split up and we'd go live in like host homes for a little bit. And I got to live with this guy who was like I guess you could say like retired Rastafarian. Like he used to, his house was painted like red, yellow, and green. And then he became a Christian guy. And to them, Rastafarian,
I was gonna say,
it's really like more like a religion almost.
I think America just kind of makes it. Rastafarian,
they Americanized it into some like, it's just all about like
just like reggae music or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot different. But live with them and we, we just hang out. We'd pass time and play cards and talk, and it was it was a cool thing. That was one of the coolest places I went to, just because the people were so welcoming. You know, they'd literally do anything for you.
Yeah, that's dope.
And,
well, it kind of like, I mean, it kind of reminds me of Mexico in the sense of like, it was so crazy going there, and you're building like this house for people who already live in like a 10 by 10 house or something. You know what I mean? We're only building them like a 10 by 20 house or whatever, like 15 by 20 or 15 by 30, something like that. But just how happy like the kids are every single day. Yeah. And they're like so happy that you're there. Obviously they're happy because you're building them a house, but like they don't even know what's going on.
Even if you didn't.
Yeah, they were just so happy to hang out with you. And it just, people, like we're so spoiled in America to where like we think of like the 40-hour work week, or the, like you got to be putting in the work or you don't get nothing. And like other countries, like even Europe, like I've been to like Portugal and everything, they're just laid back. We don't need to eat dinner at 6 o'clock. We'll eat dinner at 8, 9 o'clock.
It doesn't matter,
We'll go to work at 8:30, 9.
Day when I'm
we're
working.
We're not going to trip if somebody comes in 30 minutes late. Or like here, it just seems like everybody's.
Yeah, well, it's just like freaked out, and you have to like, if you're not a super busy person, like you're failing. You know? And it's like, whoa. Like,
or what's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. It really did change my life, just in the perspective of like, you don't, I mean, when there were times where, you know, you get to really know these people and build a relationship with them. And you know, I would ask them, you know, would you ever want to live in the United States? And they're like, no, like, I don't want to, like, you guys have so many problems. Like, you know, like your lives are so stressful. Like
we're still dealing with racism
so happy
in
with what I have.
2021.
Like, I have my house and I have food and I have my family and I'm good, you know, and it's kind of, I live in a really small town. I live in this town a little smaller than Merced. It's made me kind of just appreciate the little things. It's not, you know, redefine success is not like necessarily acquiring tons of just crazy stuff. Getting the few meaningful things. And
well, I think growing up, you think that money equals like success in general, or just having like a successful job or whatever. And then at the end of the, like, I don't know, a recurring subject on this podcast is just like, at the end of the day, it's like, what makes you happy? And if you could do that for a living, or if you could just.
Sure. Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Cause I think if you're not working hours, you know, you're just kind of like living a life, you know, what you're doing right now with your podcast, you know, it's just kind of, this is who you kind of want to be, you know, you like hosting people, you like, for this isn't really like work to you. This is more of just fun, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Enjoy
like if
doing.
Something can come out of it, that's great. Yeah. That's awesome. But right now,
and that's what
it's just a hobby that seems to be taking up a whole bunch of time.
Yeah. Well, and
I enjoy it.
And that's why I built that hammock, right? Because we're hanging out, like there's nothing to really do. You know, we're just like passing time. And one of the like great skill sets they have is like, let me show you how to like weave a hammock real quick. So we sit there and just like wove the whole thing.
That's pretty
So,
dope.
you know, I mean, I still have it. So wrapped up, and it's a good reminder that, you know, I couldn't do, you know, it's like, you think you're like, I have all this stuff. It's great. I'm like, dude, I can't even weave a hammock if I want to, you know, I can't even do some of those basic things when, you know, I feel like I have so much figured out. Kind of redefines that for you a little bit.
Yeah. So me that reminds me and Lindsay have been watching Survivor. So I used to love Survivor growing up. And so I like rebought like a CBS prescription or whatever, or prescription. No,
the doctor subscribed a new series for me.
Subscription. But we've been watching it nonstop, but like they're in the Philippines right now, and like they had like one of the rewards was, there's a Filipino guy and he's gonna come show you guys like tricks and stuff like that. And like this dude was like, one of the guys described him as like, he's like a short Gollum, like Filipino Gollum, but like he literally like, and then they showed him doing like hella Gollum things, like laughing like hella crazy. But the dude like their camp looked okay, and the dude like, just because of just how he is, he went and redid their whole thing, tied everything together, showed them how to like cook 4 different ways, like showed them how to do this, how to fish better, like all these like crazy knowledgeable things. But it's just like, we take for granted, like we can go to the store and do all this stuff. But like other people in other countries, it's just like, they have their own way of doing things.
Well, even, I mean, so the more I cook, the more I want to cook, you know, that's something that I enjoy doing. And, the more I want to cook nicer, you know, better ingredients that are usually more expensive ingredients. But I'm like, okay, if I could learn how to fish well, during salmon, like I live in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Like, I can go just catch 20 salmon and then I don't have to spend $18.99 a pound at Safeway. You know, I mean, it's crazy sometimes when I go
catch one salmon and that'll be
you know, it's like I want
to
cook dinner for 2 people and I'm spending $35 or something like that. Still at the grocery store, you're like, man, they tell you you're supposed to save money when you cook for yourself. You know, you should be able to cook decent food.
But if you're trying to go like all natural or all
or just a good quality piece of protein, that's going to cost you more money unless you raise. You know, it's like what says you can't own an acre of land and just have like a couple chickens or something. So you just take that stuff. Why you got to rely on the grocery store for it when it's so easy? These are just basic life skills, you know.
But it's like for us, or if not for us, but like for Americans in general, it doesn't seem easy for the sense of like, oh, what do you mean I have to go wake up every morning and feed these chickens and then clean up their pen and then you know what I mean?
Like commitment to something.
Like we're not exactly. Like we're so used to like the easy way out, I feel like that. Like,
or just like when I get like, oh, like I'm in the mood for chickens now, or like eggs now, but you know, in 3 weeks I might not want them. So, you know, whereas other cultures like they eat the same. They have cultural food. Like you eat the same thing.
It's not like I want to get Chinese tonight. I want to get Mexican. Yeah. Let's have a burger. It's like this is what we eat, and that's it.
We eat rice and red beans and chicken. You know, because those are the things we have access to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I think we do take some of that for granted because I don't know. No, even as you see like the massive storm. So in my industry, in the massive storms that hit like the Midwest, they've messed up the supply chains and stuff. And I don't know if you've noticed or had much of an impact, but some of the grocery stores, the prices have just shot up.
For what specifically?
Like meats and stuff, just because it's been really hard for them
to get it over here.
Yeah. So, you know, just the more you can supply for yourself and do for yourself, I think.
And then so after Jamaica, you went to where?
Costa Rica.
Where's is that still like
Costa Rica like South America?
South America. I'm saying all those pretty much are all in South America, right?
Yeah, it's all in that like
on that where all the islands are. Pretty much.
that region. You have the Caribbean islands. And Costa Rica was cool because we were in like that's where I built the hammock, but we were in like the legit.
Do that, Jamaicans, huh?
Yeah, I'm just kidding. They're better cooks, I think, a little bit. I would say.
So Haiti was like the poorest of the countries, you'd say.
I would say like
or most third world.
Yeah, they have the most like charisma. They have the most like spirit, I think. But definitely, well, they got shaken up by a massive. Well, one, their government is like crazy corrupt.
Yeah.
But there was a
this before or after?
Really, really damaged.
Okay, it was after. Yeah.
And that's why we went because we went to an area that was heavily impacted by this earthquake that killed tons of people. It was horrible. So, anyways, we went to Costa Rica. I got a whitewater raft down the river in Jurassic Park, like the opening scene where the helicopters like flying. Yeah, like our last day, like that was our like.
That's
one thing we get to
so
do.
Cool.
It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had.
It's also crazy that you're my best friend since I've been like 4 years old and I don't know this.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. You don't just sit down and interview about like a 6-month-long trip.
Yeah,
You kind of knew I went.
I knew you went, and it's also hard. Like you can't after coming back from a 6-month-long trip and your friend asks you how was it. It's not like you're going to be like, well, let me start from the beginning. Because you're getting every single person asking you that. And by the end of it, you're like, it was fun.
Honestly, I think we had like this massive debrief after it was over. And then after her resharing the whole process with like family, anybody besides that, like even in college, it was like, didn't you just get back from this like 6 months? Like, yeah, man, like I went and worked for a nonprofit for a couple months. Like,
it was really cool. It meant a lot to me.
Yeah, I mean, some people really wanted to dig in and ask questions or whatever, and I'd share, but I knew a lot of people, they didn't want to sit there and like, if you want to hear the whole story, it's going to be a while. It's not, it was 6 months.
Dude, I'm so glad that I thought about this before. I might even think about this before, but right as the podcast started, I was like, oh yeah. I was just like,
so yeah, we went. So Costa Rica was crazy. One, because we were in the rainforest, like it was like one of those typical, like we were eating out. We got food from this like restaurant, and we were sitting outside, and then you see this sloth just like walk across the electrical pole, and it's just it's just like you're in the middle of the forest. Like it's just it's just super cool. You're in a totally different place. lightning storms almost every single night.
I'm just gonna go like this. You're fine.
That was the lightning storms were crazy. You'd get, lightning bolts just striking down on the trees.
Just all the time.
Yeah, and you're just sitting, you'd sit out every night and you'd see, the rain would be pouring down. It was something to enjoy. The craziest thing I think I saw on that whole trip happened in Costa Rica. And I think I've shared this, maybe not, but I forgot. We saw like an exorcism at one of the churches. That's the best way to describe it. It was one of the weirdest experiences of my entire life. And
so like someone was like possessed or
yeah. So we're sitting there. So we're like, it was one of the weekends and we're going to church, and this lady was there, and she was in Costa Rica, they believe, or like they practice magic. Like it's like a practice there. And in Haiti, it was voodoo. These are real things. Like, it's kind of one of the
they're like kind of popular there, right? Or like the original.
Like it's an actual like practice, like almost like a religion, kind of a thing, or like a belief. And it was kind of another one of those American things where it's like, oh, I didn't know like this was still like a perspective, I didn't know like people practice this or did this. And so this lady was there, and they called up these 4 people, and this witch, I don't know what you call it. I don't want to say anything wrong, I don't want to offend anybody. But she started chanting and like saying stuff in a language, in a indigenous language. It was called Bribri, was the dialect. And one lady just like fell to the ground like a board, like boom, 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 boom. Yeah, like a stiff body. And then the lady's just shouting stuff, and this lady's eyes roll back, foaming at the mouth. I'm not like, you've known me forever. Like I wouldn't just say something, there was a whole team of 10 people there that saw the same thing I did. I mean,
how did you guys get in this scenario? Like, were they like, hey, check this out?
No, it was just a local church. Like it was a church we had gone to for the whole 7 weeks.
But like, did they like bring you there to see that? Like, you know what I mean?
No. It was just like a normal Sunday. Like we just thought we were going to normal. Like I didn't think we were going. Like I didn't know. It was one of those things. I was like, what just happened? It was just like, what did I just see? And so this lady's like foaming at the mouth, whatever. And then the lady just stops yelling, and the lady just stops. And then she says something else, and the lady wakes up, starts sobbing, starts crying hysterically, and like goes back and starts getting consoled by her family. It was one of the, we were all sitting there and we were just like, I mean, I just dramatized that slightly, but.
No, whatever. It's good for the show.
But that's how I felt.
No, when you were watching
it was just like, what did I just see? I mean, you see some crazy, I think one of the other, I think this is, I guess, one thing to share is in Haiti, we saw, like this lady ran over to the house we were at and was kind of like yelling urgently. And so the guy that could translate for us is like, someone just hung themselves in the neighborhood. And they're like, you want to go see? And I was like, no, dude, like out of respect, like, I don't want to go.
You don't see this every day.
Like, And so we waited. I didn't feel comfortable.
Did some people go or no?
Well, we just saw people from like the community running over there.
Okay.
No one from our team went over there. We watched on a TV. The guy just live stream. The news, it's not censored. The local news that they'd like tap into, it's not censored. They just like show it, and there's just like this person just.
That's something one of our friends would send us on social media.
Dude, sometimes I'm like, I don't think I should,
Didn't say any names there, but
yeah, exactly.
You know who you are.
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I'm not going to like mention the organization. I don't want anybody these stories that are not necessarily glorifying what we did.
They're like, check out what the organization did on their first trip.
I think those are just natural things. They would have happened anyways. They were just thinking.
You just happened to be there,
and it affected our perspective. The good things we did, we found people that we built profiles for so that they could get scholarships to go to schools and do all that kind of stuff. So we did some really great work. We got to teach some English classes. We got to do a couple building projects, but a lot of it was just investing and getting to know people and basically building a bridge for them.
I'm gonna say you're the first group building the relationship that could potentially last for like a long time.
We were basically like evaluating areas to see, you know.
Sorry, real quick, you guys, we're gonna do a high five right now because I don't have to go back. And so for this whole podcast, I've had to stop at 29 minutes and stop recording and then continue recording. But we made it to 30? We made it. We're at 30 minutes and 26 seconds.
I
know.
We need really wireless, bro.
Dude,
where's your sponsors?
Look at this.
Where's the technology?
Look at this. No. Even
management,
I've asked Duffy, and I was like, so like, is this just how it like it is? And he was like, honestly, when it comes to sound and like audio, like it's just wires everywhere. And
I'm like, to hire a new volunteer.
No. I called Duffy my unpaid intern, and I was like, and I always make jokes with him. I'm like, man, this sound guy, like, I don't really know about it.
I need to, get a new intern.
I might have to cut my pay for him too.
Comes for a really free price.
Exactly. But yeah, so you're bridging the gap for basically that organization.
Yeah, we did some really cool stuff, but a lot of it too was just, it was called an immersion program. It wasn't like they didn't want to really call it a mission trip because they were kind of against the whole thing of like, just go somewhere and give less fortunate people something and leave, and just like feel better about yourself. Which kind of made me question like what we did when we were kids, because it was like, oh, here's your house. Here's your keys. Let's all take a picture together and watch you cry,
there you go, bye.
And, talk about it later for next year's fundraising, and you think about it in that way. And it's like, we're not really building lasting relationships. Whereas I still talk to, and have relationships with a lot of people that I got to know when I was there. And that was 7 years ago, something like that. Thank you. It was, I'm glad it wasn't just, go build a bathroom and build a house and go do this and that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something different.
Yeah.
Every place you went to was a different thing.
Yeah.
That's like when we went to Louisiana, so we went to Mexico for 3 years, but when Mexico was like, I don't know, the cartel were killing everybody or something, but...
Well, and the hurricane hit. We had a reason to go because of Katrina.
Yeah, exactly. But like that trip was so much different than like that giving was a lot more different than our giving. Mexico was like definitely more structured of, we're waking up every single day at 6 a.m. and going to this, working over 8 hours a day and coming back, and like that's what it is.
Yeah, it's like concrete day, wall day, door day, whatever. Give them the keys, and then they cook us food. Like
Hurricane Katrina was like weird. My favorite part about when we went on that mission trip was the first day. Or were you there the first day before everyone else got there?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think I went there.
Yeah. So we get there the first day, and it's the day before Easter, and then we spend the night, and then we have the whole next day for ourselves, and we're like, well. The leaders were like, let's just go downtown to Bourbon Street. So we go to Bourbon Street. You remember
I don't think I was here for this.
Or maybe you weren't then.
I don't think I was.
So we all went to Bourbon Street on Easter, and there was a huge gay parade going on. And so literally at one point, like the only way to get by was to join the parade. So like all of our vans joined the parade, and we're just like, and like, we're on a mission trip. And like, mind you, I'm like 16. I'm like, gay people are bad, blah, blah, blah. Like that's just like, you know what I mean? I was very naive at the time.
Yeah.
So then freaking we're going through it, and it's just like the most comical scenario for a church group to be in is like in the middle of a gay parade. Like
the irony of this situation.
The irony.
Can you imagine the leader? Like, oh my God, the parents, I'm going to get so many emails.
Well, I remember my dad was the leader with us, but he was just...
Greg's like, well, whatever.
Yeah.
That's probably why your dad was like, who cares? Well, they'll be fine.
Yeah.
They're going to survive. That's so funny.
But that trip was like, oh, you're doing drywall for 7 days. Like, so we really made no progress for 7 full days. And it was just...
Well, and it was weird because when we left, it was like, sorry, it's not done. Like
we're like, I don't feel good about myself because I didn't do anything. But
I think it was just odd because we did a lot of work. I felt like we worked nonstop,
but it didn't seem like we did anything.
We were doing like whole house repairs, whereas in Mexico we're building
a whole structural house.
Yeah, I mean it's a house, but
it's concrete day, it's wall day,
it's a square. I mean it's your room is slightly bigger or smaller than the space we would build, but it was very just like this is this. Whereas Louisiana was like, here's this massive house that's been flooded and tortured, but let's or tore up, but let's re-dry with 8 kids that like have no dry. We have one guy. I think my leader was Mr. Maxwell, and he.
No, weren't we together? Were you together with Andy, Craig, and Gabby?
Yeah.
Lord? Right, we were together
I
then.
think. Yeah, I think.
No,
Mr.
I'm pretty positive it was me and you. And we had Stephen Hopp with our group.
Yeah,
and my
because I
dad,
think
and then you just said.
I remember he was like a construction guy, and
Yeah.
so he would just like bounce. He probably could have done what we did in like 2 days, but he bounced around and tried to teach us all how to mud and tape drywall.
Yeah.
And we were just a bunch of like going
I just
slow.
remember the inspector would come in like once every 2 days and be like, needs to be flattered. And I'm like, okay, we're just doing drywall all week then.
Yeah.
I think you guys don't have the next step for us, like ready or funding for it.
I just remember one of the mornings we had breakfast. We had like baked oatmeal, and it was just like a square. It was just a square of oats. Like I've never had, we're used. I think this is the wrong way, but we would just like mix stuff up and microwave it. That's probably not how you're supposed to do it. Baking it makes more conventional sense, but
even on the stovetop, it was just kind of different.
Just like grab and go. You like grab it and you just kind of like bite it. But that was one of the different foods that I remember eating there.
You remember when I don't know? I remember at one point I was in McDonald's, and there's like this guy, and they're like, "Where are you from?" Like they can obviously tell that we're not from there, and we're like, "Oh, California." And they're like, "Is this your first time in New Orleans?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, it's our first time in New Orleans." He's like, "No, you gotta say it like with the accent." New Orleans. The O and the new and the O are like connected. New Orleans. And I was like, "Oh, okay, sir." Like I'm like, I don't know, but I do remember they have video games in the McDonald's. Like, this is the craziest thing. They have video games here.
Dude, I wish. Sometimes I wish I could redo like middle school and high. Like you think of some of those events and just how fun. Like. I don't know when I'm going to experience things like that again. Like they were so unique to what, just even like waiting and I mean, I guess I can go experience this, but when being all the kids and like shopping at the borderline in Mexico.
Dude, that was the best. On your way.
Like, dude, do you see that tunic over there? Yeah. Like we're going to wear that the rest of our lives. It was like,
but it was like the in thing.
I think I could get it for $15. You'd wear it for 3 weeks after you get back.
That was the best though, because we're waiting on the Mexico border to leave to go back to California.
Yeah.
And literally the line is just all people walking up to the van selling you stuff. But like that was like the best part of it. Like that's where everyone bought the most of their stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you got that? I wish I would have got that.
No one's gonna notice.
No one's gonna notice the abrupt cut. I think that was a pretty good imitation of it. Oh, God. Whatever. Segue.
We get it.
All right, you guys. So I recently posted this moon picture, and like I think it's cool. I'm like pretty proud of it. However, I knew like going into like when I was making this moon picture that like this is the cliche type of like stuff that gets popular on the internet. It's like it's like 2 of my pictures, and one of them's like a moon picture, and I transformed it to make it look like it's falling into the firefall picture that I took. And like everyone kept commenting like, "Oh, you should put this on NFT." Ben texted me and was like, "Oh, my buddy's been doing NFT, taking the hat off. It's time to get serious about this crypto."
Let's talk crypto.
But everyone was like, "You need to sell this on NFT. And I'm like, what the hell is NFT? And then like, I didn't like Ben texted me and I was like, pretty whatever. And then someone commented on my Reddit post. Shout out to Reddit also, because so many people.
Just make them famous.
48,000 people liked it or upvoted it. That's what I was like, that means like millions of people saw it.
Did you check it today? That was what it was yesterday.
No, it was at like 4,700 that night.
Tapered off.
Yeah, exactly. It was at 48.5.
It lost its steam.
But that means like millions of people saw it, plus like a whole bunch of like these hundreds of thousands of Instagram accounts.
Yeah, nowadays likes it's not like that's how many people saw it. Really, like that means the amount of people that saw it was probably way more than 40.
Yeah, like this. Yeah, and then I remember this girl Hannah who used to hang out the garage with us. She messaged me and she was just like, "Hey, my boyfriend just saw your photo on Reddit," and I was just like, it's just so wild that like all the like just like millions of people see this one photo. And I mean, I don't know, it's pretty cool. But so if someone was commented on it and was like, "Hey, you should sell this on NFT," some dude just made like 69, 63, whatever, $1 million off of selling like one file. And I'm like, "Oh, what is an NFT?" Oh, good thing you asked. Also, preface right here, you guys. Me and Ben aren't experts in this, so
No,
if we do say
we're probably saying so many wrong. We need to get some NFT attention right now because I want people to just make fun of us.
But it's
how bad. But
I need the hype of NFT to take this podcast up.
Riding the viral wave.
Yeah. So NFT is art basically, and it stands for.
Whoa. Okay. So wait. Let me explain this. So it's a non-fungible token.
Yeah.
But so an NFT isn't a piece of art necessarily, but it's like it's so blockchain. So we have to back up a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because blockchain is it's technology where basically you tie a transaction or an NFT to this really encrypted code of string, and it protects it, and it has all the data of the transfer and everything in it. You know.
Yeah.
And so normally, or as of late, blockchain has been really used for things like Bitcoin, where you're transacting money, and these blockchain codes are more like ledgers.
Mm-hmm.
NFTs are you are basically you're minting an item, so you're taking like a JPEG, and you are you can go get it minted to add that a piece of blockchain encrypted data onto the JPEG to make give it its address. So you're giving it like a piece of digital real estate.
Yeah, and
on the internet, right?
And
so you can own a piece of the internet.
Yeah, and that specific piece of internet is like what's verified in it.
Yeah.
So that's basically like if you have an antique or a really rare baseball card, you have a letter of authenticity.
Exactly.
Generally. So you are buying basically that link, and then the blockchain is providing you with a letter of authenticity with it.
Yeah. And so they've created these. So this is, I think, one of the reasons why we're talking about this is because that one picture, or the group of pictures is sold for $68 million or something.
By
some guy named Beeple.
Yeah.
Beeple. I think it's funny how we go from normal names and we make. It's just funny that we even make fun of normal names.
Banksy seem kind of cool, but like now we're people.
And then we have like esports where we're calling like actual athletes like Ninja and something like you can just make up your own code word now, and that's who you are. But he released a piece of art for 5,000 days straight. And then when NFTs came out, he sold basically all of it.
Yeah. It was
this massive inspirational thing.
Yeah, 10,000 things that are all separate but together, and he combined them, and he sold it for.
Yeah, and then he sold it for $69 million, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so we were talking because it went viral, and because they've created these platforms where now you can go auction off your pictures.
Yeah.
It's like. Some people call it 3D art. Some people, I think, actually render like real art. The kid that I know he kind of does that, but he also just like renders pictures, that he already finds.
Yeah.
And he uses a lot of the same ones. It seems like he has like a
theme.
A lot of these artists have like a theme. Yeah. And so, yours could be like moons or something, whatever it is. If people are into that, they just know like, oh, this Micah guy, like I'm going to pay him $50,000 worth of Ethereum because I don't want to convert it into normal money, or I have no idea why people are doing this.
Yeah.
But it's just so interesting to me.
Yeah. Also, so this started because of cats. So like
CryptoKitties.
Yeah, CryptoKitties, exactly.
Yeah.
So it was like this back before anybody even knew what Bitcoin was or anything.
It was in 2019 or 18. It was like Bitcoin like spiked. That's why when we kind of bought a couple of them, we're like, oh, I don't know what this is, and then it all kind of vanished. And then they launched this CryptoKitties thing where they released a certain, you could like.
It was like buy, sell, and breed crypto cats or whatever, like cats through cryptocurrency. It seems so stupid.
It's like almost like I think maybe a game, or like you literally buy like maybe you don't know what it is, and then you click on it and a cat pops out. I don't know. But
the internet is full of cats.
It looks like a pixel. Yeah, it's like I've seen a picture of one, and it's just like a super pixelated old version, or whatever, what would look like an old generation computer picture of a cat.
Yeah, it's not even.
But they go for like millions of dollars.
It's like a clip art cat. Like that's what it looks like.
Yeah, like an animation where the head's just like,
Yeah. And I
it's-
saw like the site you sent me to, and it was like, what artwork do you like better? And it was like literally clip art versus like graphic arts. Like that's what it was. And I was like, I'm gonna pick the graphic arts every time.
And
But
it
like,
blows my mind because you look at what people, and then there's another one called Cyberpunks or something like that, and it's the same like crappy clip art technology, but it's just like weird looking like a green dude with orange mohawk smoking a cigarette. And it's like, oh yeah, it sold for $45 million. It's like, how? What? Why are people spending this much money on a JPEG file? Because that's the biggest argument is like, dude, I literally can just like right click save picture and save this on my computer.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you think it's the same, but apparently whatever the code that's verified is like the distinguishing factor.
Yeah, but for someone that cares, oh, well, I have this piece of blockchain tied to it, so it's worth so much.
I've heard the
money.
comparison of like sneakers, for example. Like it's like you can own a pair of Jordans and a pair of like Adidas Ultra Boost, and Adidas Ultra Boost are going to be like $100, let's say, but the Jordans are going to sell for $1,000, right? But it's weird because the actual material cost of it all it's the equivalent. It's like $5, $10 for the company, whatever, you know what I mean? But it's just the fact that we're putting value on it, and it's kind of the sense that, okay, somebody bought Beeple stuff for $69 million, that's putting the value on that specific, it's putting the value on the art, you know what I mean?
Well, and now all of a sudden this one guy that like, you think of like Shakespeare back in the day or whatever, and he became so famous because he put his like blood, sweat, and tears into, but this kid like, released these computer files for a couple years, and he made like 69 million. Like, I just don't get why the scale, like the scale of money just doesn't seem to add up. Like, why I could get maybe like $1 million or something, but why almost $100 million are you giving to this? I don't know, a computer file.
It doesn't make sense to me at all. And the thing is, like, normally you would think like the biggest chunk of money for an art piece is going to be like the copyright or like the printing rights. However, when you're buying these JPEG files, or whatever the file is, like the specific file, you're not buying the intellectual property rights or the like of that one specific file you are, but not of the picture in general. Me as an artist can still sell prints of that and get money from it. And that doesn't make sense compared to how the world is now, but it seems like this is just the beginning of how the future is going to look, like everything through here. Like instead of buying a Gucci bag and being like, look at this, it's going to be like, oh, look, I have this specific number to.
Well, and don't the one reason I don't want to take it for granted is because I think we've been proven wrong, and like even like Netflix when it came out, like people kind of laughed at it. And like, you know, they
just Blockbuster, bro. What are you talking
the
about?
big trendy thing was like the Blockbuster documentary they launched on the last Blockbuster to ever close. Like just recently. It's kind of like the biggest slap in the face. Like we literally like crushed your company and then made a documentary about it. It's like pretty funny.
You would think that Blockbuster would have just jumped on with the streaming.
Well, and that was the big controversy, right? Is Netflix tried to sell to them. They tried to sell on that concept, and Blockbuster was like, no, we don't want, that's not going to work.
Netflix is like, so we're going to make you look.
We're going to kill you. Yeah.
We're going to make you look so stupid.
Yeah. So they kind of crushed them. But my theory is that like we saw, I think it was like the Super Bowl where they put up like a hologram of some rapper or something like that up on stage. Like Tupac, right?
Yeah. And everyone's like, is this real? Is he back?
Yeah, well, like, and hologram technology is kind of coming up. So what I'm thinking is maybe one day if people are truly rendering like 3D art, you could have like some device at your house that you could put your like blockchain code into, and it would display your art. Like, and that's where I could see it be like applicable. But right now where you can just like save it on your computer, like, look at my folder of pictures. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, what is it really? It just doesn't, I don't get the value. The one thing, so I didn't talk about this yet because I wanted to be like fresh, but NBA Top Shot, have you heard of that?
I saw artwork about that literally said that, but I didn't have no idea what that was.
Yeah, so NBA Top Shot's kind of, it's different where it's a company that's really, so now it's like digital basketball cards. So I thought like, I wanted to show like Rafa this weekend because I wanted to know what he would say, but you literally buy moments in NBA, in moments that have happened like on TV. And so they sell little clips of like, this is a rare Steph Curry 3-pointer. This is the game 7 of the finals.
Can't be that rare. I'm
And
just
so,
kidding.
well,
I'm just kidding.
so they're only releasing, say if it's like the super rare one, they're only released like 100 of those digital cards. Well, NBA Top Shot releases these packs where they'll release like 15,000 of them, and they'll say like, okay, we're going to drop it at 5 o'clock. So at 4:45, you click like join, and you join in with like 400,000 people. And so only 14,000 are going to get the pack.
Yeah.
And so then it randomizes it. You get the pack and you get this moment, and then you auction them off in the marketplace or trade them with people. Just like people were trading
normal trading cards, right?
Yeah, physical cards back in the day. You know, now you're not going to be graded on minted this or that. It's just be more of like the rarity of it.
What does it mean though when they're saying like, oh, you need to mint this art piece? Do you know?
So minting it is basically just a process of taking a JPEG and connecting it to
with like blockchain,
a piece of blockchain. Yeah,
and the most popular one for this is Ethereum. For specifically for the NFTs.
Yeah. So Bitcoin is seen as like gold because it's there's only a set amount created, and the function of it is I think you wanted to talk about this, like not energy efficient at all.
Oh yeah.
And so Bitcoin, why it's so valued right now is because it's all about buying a certain commodity. You're basically buying space on the internet or power on the internet. Whereas Ethereum is all about transacting or like tokenizing.
But Ethereum still does a whole bunch of
like Venmo. Venmo is ran off of Ethereum, basically.
Really?
That's so like the reason we can send money now from like a phone app or like Zello or whatever. Reason it's like that instant. The reason that one bank can talk to another bank like that is because of blockchain technology. So crypto does have applicable use that people don't even realize they're doing.
No, yeah, exactly.
But like, what if an NFT, like what if you could tokenize, you know, what about like your driver's license in the future, or like the title to your car? Like you could literally be like, here, you want my pink slip?
Well,
like,
I was going to say, people, yeah, exactly. I have notes right here that say like, it's basically like, it's not just art in currency, but people want to use it like for voting rights. And apparently it's being used right now in fisheries for a harvest. Like, I don't understand this. I'm not saying I do, but I've listened to multiple podcasts and like, that's a subject they come. Like they can literally use that to figure out where the harvest is happening and where most fish are like laying their eggs or whatever. And I'm like, I don't understand
AI technology. This. I think AI technology is based around blockchain concepts or blockchain tech. You know, when they say like, I think a lot of people mistake like blockchain as crypto, whereas like crypto exists because of blockchain, but blockchain technology is more of like encrypted algorithm solving concept that you can apply to so many different things.
Yeah, exactly. So like you were saying, like I had no idea that blockchains and cryptocurrency had a carbon footprint at all. Like, I mean, like at all. And like, cause it's like a giant supercomputer sucking in all this power from other networks that are running cryptographs and are searching and mining for sequence errors and looking for all these things. And like, that doesn't sound like, it just sounds like, oh, you're using energy. That's normal. But like the amount of energy you're using is crazy. Let me go to my notes, you guys. So yeah, and Ethereum specifically has a bigger carbon footprint than most other ones because of like this recent stuff that's been happening and like how people are tying
I think Bitcoin is the worst, but I think Ethereum is transacted and like the volume of it is a lot more because you have like NFTs and money and all this stuff being transacted that so you can, if you own cryptocurrency or like you hear people that are like mining cryptocurrency and it's basically they're setting up their computers to solve these algorithms constantly. And that's all these computers are called nodes. And the more the nodes that we have, the more blockchain problems can be solved, basically. The more transactions that can go through and stuff like that. And that's what they're talking about. Those it's just massive computers it's this massive web of computers all around the world sucking all this energy of just calculating numbers constantly. And it's Bill Gates is a big criticizer of cryptocurrency in general, just because he says it's just not environmentally friendly. Yeah, and whereas the other side says like it's taken out of context. Like when you compare it to the impact of like car manufacturing and other things are like, it's really like, how can you say this, but
like with anything in today's society, you can take any stat and make you prove your point.
It kind of goes back to the whole, like, you just care about yourself and you just want, it's like, whoa, if you compare it to everyone else, we're not that bad. So we just do it too.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, you can't just be the bigger person.
Just the whole...
So anyways, you got to sell your picture.
No, exactly. No, yeah. So I have some facts.
A bunch of energy.
I have some facts, and then I want to talk about that. So basically, there's been about 18,000 NFT transactions. And like, if you were to translate that into energy, it's 2,000 years of daily energy for an average household. It's the equivalent of using a laptop for 54,000 years. It's the equivalent to boiling a kettle 8 million times. And that's just a crazy amount of energy. And with all that being said, I'm trying to sell my moon picture on NFT.
I'm trying to make that money.
I'm trying to make that money so I can do this podcast full time. Exactly.
I mean, people are throwing out $10,000 for, hey, let me just go edit this photo on Photoshop real quick. Let me go take like, I saw one photo and it's like a zoomed in, it's like a landscape of pyramids, a zoomed in moon, and then like an emoji face over it. And it's sold for like 80 grand.
Yeah.
And it's just like,
that's why I'm like, okay, well, if my picture is getting this much traffic and this many views, like, in my mind, I'm just like, it should have a little more value. I mean, this is also coming from someone who does not understand NFTs, but you know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, it's been seen by that many people that you would think that someone would be like, oh, I want to own that specific file for that. If this is that big,
like,
you know
bro,
what I mean?
Like a middle of pandemic, like I didn't think people just had just millions of dollars laying around for random, like, oh, I'm gonna go buy this clip art real quick for thousands.
That's what pisses me off, is that people are selling clip art. I'm like, I don't understand. I can't fathom and understand.
Well, and why I said it to you is like, this is to me, what you're doing is more like actual art. Like, you're going out to like a real place people could visit. And you're like, here's a picture. And obviously you modified it to make it look even cooler. But I don't get when you're making, like, it's just like this robot picture or something like that. It's like, okay, but it's not necessarily real. And I get that obviously we have this crazy imagination and whatnot, but the art seems way more valuable when it's fire falls, this once in a lifetime shot. You posted something the other day of like, you being a photographer means
it's
catching the right shot or something.
My whole little tagline I put on my website is like,
my motto,
capturing the world as I envision it. So when I take a photograph, I'm not necessarily being like, this is it. Like, this is the start of it, but I want to create something with it. I mean, majority of the time, it's just me editing it and looking, like, making specific features look differently. But like for this one, it was like, I had this picture already of Firefall with the orange waterfall, and I've seen, like, I'm really inspired by this dude named, like, a guy named Eric on Instagram, and he does the same thing where he takes, like, 3 different photos and combines them all together that he's taken, and I was just, like, inspired by that. I was like, oh, let me try to do that. So I added the moon there.
Again, art.
Yeah, like, exactly. And I think that's the difference. And even, like, on my Reddit post when, like, 48,000 people liked it. Most people were like, honestly, I don't really like composites, but I really like this. And that was like a reoccurring thing, was like, I'm not a fan of people combining or doing photos together, but like, this is pretty cool. And like, it was like, I don't even like combining photos together like that, but it was just looked cool enough to where I was like, I think that people will like it. And then.
So when you go to edit a photo, what's like the first thing you do? Is like the sky that like you're best at?
No,
like,
so sometimes
color?
Sometimes I'm taking a photo and I'm like, this is a great photo. I'm just gonna edit it to enhance it.
Yeah.
And then other times I'm taking a photo and like thinking like, oh, there might not be a sky there, but I can add a sky and it'll look cool. And like for the longest time, I like felt like a fraud saying that. But there's this other podcast I listen to called like A Photographer's Mindset. And like he has like really big photographers on. And a lot of them talk about like sky replacement, adding things, taking things out. And that's like all Photoshop type of things. And it is definitely a tool with it. But it's just like, I feel like there's like a fine line of walking on like, am I... Like, I don't want to be I don't necessarily want to be like a Photoshop artist. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be more a photographer. Like a
graphic designer.
And I can do that if I wanted to. But my whole thing is like, I want to be a photographer. So it's just like a thin line of...
You find like a niche, right?
Yeah,
like, you know, like you're kind of like, I'm staying in my lane. Like, I don't want to become this Pixar. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like clearly
you're more of a realist.
Moons.
Like you do.
Like if it looks real, I want to do it. Yeah, exactly. And like, that's why if I can edit something and make it look real, then that's okay. However, I don't want to...
Enhance it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And you're
okay.
just adding things like people think like I used to like feel like such a fraud because I added like a couple birds to my photos or like did little things like that. And then people were like, "Oh, I can't believe you caught those birds." And then you're like, "Oh man!" Like, and I haven't even talked about this yet, but you know what I mean? Like, I like feel like a.
Did you actually catch a bird in Rafa's photo?
No, yeah,
What was that called? Okay.
yeah. No, that wasn't
know if
real
that
birds.
was just like
no, exactly.
You threw that in there. It's kind of
No,
fun.
yeah, exactly. It just depends. Sometimes it's real birds and stuff like that. Sometimes not. It just
That is kind of funny because you just go out and like take a picture of water and just like Photoshop in an eagle and be like, out in the morning, like saw this sweet eagle.
Yeah, so
fly by.
I don't want to do that type of stuff, but I want to do something that accents my specific photo. So I'm never going to be like, this is the subject of my photo that didn't happen. It's just going to be, here's my photo. I maybe thought birds would look good in it. And like, now people are going to go back to my photos and be like, are these real? Are these real? Are these real? No, but like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day because it's just, I created this piece. At the end of the day, when I'm posting it, I'm creating it. So that's
what I mentioned when I was like, you should create like a separate Instagram account and just go crazy. Just like,
then you could do,
just add emojis or, whatever's trendy with these people that have all this money apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's
like, the real world and like emojis mixed together. How did anybody think of that? It's like,
well, my first thought was like, okay, you're going to get people that are really smart that are going to like go into these like intense video games, go to like one of those massive like galaxy places, like screenshot it and like, oh yeah, it's art that I made.
Yeah.
It's like, I wonder just rip off
I wonder
anybody?
what copyright, like for, let's say somebody does take a photo, but you use...
Yeah.
Like say they take a sky photo, but you use the sky in your photo.
Sure.
Like, but the thing is like no one like, because of like that thing doesn't have the specific file where they can look at like, you know what I mean? Once you download on your computer, it's its own file.
Well, I would bet they get a little more, like there's going to be some news stories that come out about some guy that like made millions of dollars by like ripping off photos
Somebody
or something.
else,
And then people are going to get skeptical and all of a sudden they're going to go from selling for millions for a couple hundred or thousand or something like that, who knows? I mean, after the last year and a half we've had, I don't really question anything.
Yeah.
That happens, So it's like, okay, the new way to become a millionaire is we can make cool graphic design work. Mm-hmm. I was taking pictures. I flew over this morning and we get up, it's super cloudy and the clouds are just like super milky and full and just like way up and just like cool. Like really cool.
Yeah.
And for like a split second, I was like, dude, I could take pictures of this and sell this as an NFT. It's like, this is something that someone around the world would be like, wow, that's amazing.
So cool,
That's so cool, man. Like I would totally spend money on that where, I don't know. It's just, it blows my mind that we work so hard, like day jobs and some 16-year-old kid that I know has made 6 figures in 4 months selling almost the same picture of a desert in different colors.
Yeah.
Like literally. Like that's, I was looking at his photos. I'm like,
I was looking at him.
Dude,
I mean, he blends them.
Props to you for what you've done. It's amazing. But you kind of, the formula and you just reproduce the same thing.
Yeah, he blends them really well and everything. But like you were saying, there's like a continuous theme on them.
Yeah.
Like, I finally checked out his page and I was just like, these are good. Like, I don't even know if I can do this on some of my pictures, you know what I mean? But I'm like, they're all like the same vibe, basically.
Well, and so when he first started, I saw him one night and he's like, yeah, I've started like, people bought my art. And I was like, wow. So I asked him, I was like, what software do you use? So he sent me this list of like 8 things to use. The first one I looked up was like $1,000 a year or something like that. And I was like, do you have like 8 pieces of software and the first one's like $1,000 a year and you're 16? Like, yeah, I can't do this because I don't have like, I'm not going to take a risk and just.
That makes me feel better. I just pay $30 a month for Adobe.
Yeah, exactly. You're just using like Photoshop and Illustrator, right?
Yeah.
But he's using like Cinema 4D and like all these like rendering, like what like Pixar guys are using and stuff, like actual art. And there are guys out there that I think are going to be able to, now that this is getting more popular and people are putting more energy into it, I wonder if guys like these young kids are going to get pushed underwater because the market's going to get crazy saturated by super talented.
Like actually good
like actual like Pixar art.
But maybe not because people are buying clip art. That's the thing though. Like,
but if I was a digital artist making $140,000 for some motion picture company or something like that, and I was like, okay, I could sell one piece for a couple $100,000, I'd be like, I'm going to try at least. And then if I sell a couple, I'm quitting. Like,
well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I'm out of here.
But they're probably doing it because they love it, I guess. If you're at Pixar, you're probably.
Yeah.
shout out to Pixar, I guess.
Crypto in general is just it's just weird. Like when we were on like Coinbase or whatever, Binance, back in 2000.
We talk about, I'm still on that. I haven't touched my money since.
Dude, we should look after this. If we could break into it
if
somehow.
I could get into it.
Yeah.
I reset my password last year because I was like, I want to be able to get into this. But then like I got a new phone, so I don't have Google Authenticator. So it's like a whole fucking process every time.
Oh, yeah. Well, so when I was telling you that story about how I got into mine, you have to like send them like a picture of your ID.
No, yeah, I did that last year, but I don't remember any of my stuff.
It's not helping the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But when I was on it, there was like a couple on Coinbase. There was like 3. It was like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin. I think it was like the 3.
Yeah. Those were those 3.
And then back in December when...
Dude, my cousin told us all to buy Bitcoin when it was $1,000. And we're like, shut up. Like, we don't want to buy this.
It's 60 grand.
And he had 2 of them. And then like it got
Does he still have them?
No, I mean, he cashed out, but my cousin who lives in Vietnam right now. He moved to Vietnam in February of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And like Vietnam has never closed down really at all. So like he's just been living life normal. Partying. Shout out Austin. There we go.
Austin, living a good life.
Yeah, dude. His 2020 could not have been more normal compared to everybody else's 2020.
Well, and I think for a select like influencers and these people that have made millions off of Bitcoin, their 2020 was a lot different. Like you do still see people on Instagram just like in Tulum, Mexico or wherever, just off in some inclusive resort because it's dirt cheap because no one's there.
Well, 2020 was like the make or break year for a lot of people. And like a lot of people
you're living on that government money and you can go start your own. Basically, the government paid for you to have like a 9-month window to go start your own business.
And if you didn't do anything, it's literally your own fault. Like that's the thing. Like,
well, some people didn't care to,
and they couldn't because they were actually working
or whatever.
Granted. But like for me, it was just like I'm getting all this money right now. I'm gonna just focus on what I want to do, and if I work on that, things will get better. Like, but it's just like how me and Jimmy, like when we first started doing photography or videography stuff, it was like we're nature and that's our niche and that's what we're doing. But like you think that's like a wide open thing, but it's like a super small thing on like what you feel like you can do. And it was just like growing as an artist and as an individual, figuring out like, okay, like it's good to do things together, but we also need to do things separately so that we can like focus on individual projects.
Well, and I think you realize like when you get into the process of like developing yourself professionally or whatever it might be, it's just about like you need to accept the fact that you're just going to change constantly. Like you're gonna try things, they're gonna work out, they're not gonna work out, whatever. Like you're gonna slowly build on them. But you can't expect yourself to just like do one thing and be able to sustain enough for it to work out. Like, I just don't think even these like YouTube guys, you're like, oh, you have 9 channels. Like, I didn't realize, it's like, I didn't realize like that's your strategies. You're just like, you're sharing your own content. Like it's not your friends, it's like you manage all 9 of these. And I know that's like a really simple concept, but I think that's what a lot of these guys that got in really early have done.
Yeah, exactly. So I just recently saw the whole thing about YouTube where like people have like, I forget what they're called. It's some type of account, but it's basically like say you're really into health and wellness and people look up these things. They literally go to a site that already is successful, look at all the videos they make, and then just make those same videos better. Yeah. And they target those videos so that then people will click on yours. And then now you're making $5,000 a month from this one YouTube channel. And then you're like, okay, let's do one about definitions now. And let's do one about food cooking
You
now.
multiply that by a couple.
Yeah.
I mean, some people have channels for just the simple, and you're, like even here, like you might not grow interest from the whole world right away or whatever, but there's not a lot of people that are highlighting this area. And so like you do have a market because there are people in this area that would listen to people that talk about living in this area.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
that means,
Yeah.
And so you can start there and hopefully it grows slowly.
And that's what I think it like sets me apart from like most everybody else who has a podcast in this area. Like there's some cool ones. I don't know. There's some dude who has this one about sports and it's really good and everything. Like he gets people on and stuff. But a lot of people just start podcasts and it's just them and their friends talking crap or like there's no like bigger purpose of it. And mine like my purpose of it is just to highlight like individuals in the area or people who are from the area, and in general, people who are passionate about what they do. And that's a good premise. Whereas most people have the premise of, this is me and my friends talking crap or laughing together, listen to us. And it's like, no one wants to listen to that, honestly. Like,
well, and I think I think it was big hype for a while. Like there's a solid 2 years of like the guys that did not deserve to make millions or even hundreds of thousands of dollars were like the dudes are just like prank videos.
Yeah.
And it's like that was content.
The
back in
Mr.
the
Beast,
day.
the Jake Paul, the Logan Paul, all those
when
types
they
of
run in
videos.
a grocery store and slam down a gallon of milk, like, but millions of people would watch it. And so there was just this formula. If I go out and act like a dipshit out in the community, like I can be the super rich guy and own 4 Ferraris by the time I'm 19. It's like, good for you, but I don't know. Is that what we need for our culture right now? Like, I think things like this are better where you can actually talk about real things or real people versus, I don't know. I'm glad we're seeing overall. I think there's a big like shift in the internet of how it's used. I've seen a lot more like free. Lately, I've been like, why did I go to college? Like, that's everything on the internet. I mean, there's just so much stuff.
That's my whole spill of like, if you're getting into videography or photography or anything like that. You don't got to go to school at all. Go watch YouTube videos.
Dude, literally anything. Coding.
Yeah.
I mean, but even like how-to video. Like there's so much content on there that you can watch and judge for yourself. Like, oh, that guy did a good job. Oh, he didn't do a good job. Like,
I changed my heater's heating element, and I was amazed that I could do it. But it was it was pretty simple. But like watching a video online made me be like, okay, I can actually do this. I'm not going to burn down my house.
To install ... Literally my whole life. It's like nowadays, even with like old people, I think the most valuable thing you can teach them is just how to put a how-to statement in Google. Just like
use the internet.
Yeah.
But the old people just get so like overwhelmed.
Flustered.
Like
my grandpa, there's 9 articles about
or
this.
My grandpa were like, what do you think about this article? And it was like a clearly like sent like 50 to like 100 times of different emails because it had like hella spaces over. Yeah. And it was like America's falling. Oh, it was like Europe is falling. America is next. This is France now. Like, and it was random pictures every single time. And I'm like, what do you think about that? I was like, I don't believe that at all. I think you probably got
a virus.
Yeah, I don't believe that at all. Like, there's no sources here. Like, you know what I mean? We look at things a lot differently than the older generation.
Well, because you have to realize that, you know, I got something the other day. It was in like Amazon. They're getting like really good. Like it was like Amazon logo, like everything. Even
it's like you've run a free blah blah blah.
Yeah, even the like overlay of it said Amazon something, but you had to click on it to see that the actual address was like ZYA24 something at hotmail.com. And you're like, that's Amazon wouldn't send it.
I always
obviously
get like free stuff from Amazon. Like
but you wonder what older people. I mean, even my grandma, you know, it's like bless her heart, but you know, it's like on Facebook, and it's like, share this or you're gonna die. And, it's like Jesus. You know, like I don't know.
It's like we dealt with that in MySpace. Like remember MySpace bulletin board?
We learned
it was like surveys. They like copy and it was like, do the survey if you see it within the first 10 seconds or first minute of me posting it. And then you were like, always fill it out. It's like, do you like someone you follow? It's like, yes. Like, you know what I mean? I hope they see this. Like stupid shit.
Yeah.
But it's funny because old people, like, they were always like, don't believe everything you read on the internet, you know, or like older people. And then like now it's like, they're believing everything they read on the internet. Ones, it's like, hey, look for the sources or look for this.
Or even the just the amount of, like, did you see this news article? I'm like, yeah, did you read what website it came from? Like, you know, hugsandbunnies.com probably isn't where you should be getting your like freaking political news, grandma. You know, it's just like, what the heck? It's kind of funny. That's the world we live in, brother.
That is the world we live in. All right, Benjamin Douglas, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was really fun. You like to follow him, Dougie Dish. I'll put it right here.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Here's your plug. I'll do it for you. All right, thanks again, you guys.
This is it. Real talk. Whatnot.
Real talk. That's what it is.